Once 64,000 years ago, we were dying. Less than 10,000 humans left on Earth. Then, someone did something insane. They cracked open this rock, ate what was inside, and accidentally triggered a revolution that built your brain. On this video, we will delve into the story of the first oyster. But first, I ask for your support with your like, your subscription, and don't forget to activate the bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Picture this. You're starving. Your tribe, maybe 50 people, hasn't found large game in weeks. It's an ice age. The interior of Africa is turning to dust. You've got two options: die inland or risk the coast. That roaring, terrifying ocean that smells like death, but you choose the water. And there, stuck to the rocks between tides, are these things, gray, sealed shut. They could be poison. But you've watched birds smash them. You've seen otters crack them with rocks. You're desperate enough to try. What would you do if your entire species was about to go extinct? Here's what they figured out. Heat. Have you ever tried opening a live oyster without a knife? It's basically impossible. But fire. Fire is the master key. They placed the oyster near flames and heard that, a crack. The shell loosening. Smell changing from brine to meat. Imagine that moment. This sealed rock is opening. You're about to eat something that could kill your entire family. But your children are starving. She eats, and nothing terrible happens. Better than nothing. It's incredible. Packed with protein, zinc, iron, omega-3s, everything a dying brain needs. And there are millions of them, just sitting there. This wasn't a one-time snack. This was a survival strategy. And here's where it gets wild. At the exact same site where archaeologists found 164,000-year-old oyster shells, they found red ochre, art pigment. Why would starving people waste time making art? This is where your spine should tingle. The oyster wasn't just feeding bodies, it was feeding minds. Those omega-3 fatty acids, critical for brain development, the protein, energy for complex thinking. At Pinnacle Point, humans were unlocking two things simultaneously: a renewable food source that could support larger populations, and the mental capacity for symbolic thought. Cave paintings, language, culture. The oyster might not have invented art, but it gave us the brain fuel to create it. That first bite wasn't just survival. It was the beginning of everything that makes us human. And this knowledge, humans kept figuring it out. Africa, Europe, the Americas, Neanderthals in the Mediterranean, eating shellfish 110,000 years ago. Indigenous peoples building mountains of shells that lasted millennia. Fast forward to Rome. They were obsessed. They imported British oysters across the empire, like FedExing McDonald's to France, and created the first oyster farms. A businessman named Sergius Orata turned survival food into status symbols. Okay, but the craziest part? The 1800s in New York City. Oysters were dirt cheap, the hot dog of their day. Working people survived on them. They were sold from street carts. The city was literally built on crushed oyster shells. They used them for mortar in buildings. When's the last time you paid $20 for something you could find on the beach? For 99% of human history, oysters were poor people's food. Then we ate them nearly to extinction. Quick thing, if this is blowing your mind, hit that like button. It helps others find these stories. Okay, back to it. Remember that quote from the opening? Here's the kicker. Swift was being sarcastic. He was mocking the idea. We've been taking it seriously for 300 years. You need to hear this. When you see an oyster today, you see luxury. But the real story? Gritty, desperate survival. It wasn't boldness. It was necessity and genius. That first person looked at a locked rock and saw a solution. They observed nature, used tools, controlled fire, took calculated risks. Of course, the consequence of all that demand was near extinction. Overharvesting, pollution. By the 1900s, oyster populations crashed. But here's where the story comes full circle. We're finally learning the lesson from 164,000 years ago. Oysters aren't just food. They're nature's water filters. They clean pollution. They protect coastlines from erosion. We're now using them to restore ecosystems we destroyed. The story that began with a fight for survival is now key to a sustainable future. That first human who cracked open an oyster wasn't just feeding themselves, they were showing us a path. One we're only now smart enough to follow again. So who ate the first oyster? We'll never know their name, but we're alive because they took the risk, because they looked at an impossible problem and found a brilliant solution. If you want more stories about the moment everything changed, subscribe now. Next week, we'll look at how someone looked at a cow and said, "I'm gonna drink that." It caused a genetic mutiny that rewired our species. You won't believe this one. See you there.